educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is.
Have you ever thought that it's kind of weird how people are so good at fantasizing what they want to become, but so bad at putting forth the effort to achieve it? I'm sure we've all been there. I have felt the same way. I've wanted to become so many things. I've wanted to do so many things. I wanted to have so many things. But as soon as I start thinking about how to get there, it just seems so far out of reach and maybe not worth it. But I think I found a way to make our fantasies a reality. Turning fantasy into a reality takes a lot of motivation. For example, can you think of any goals that people often want to achieve? Things like bodybuilding or reading a book or getting better at cooking, saving more money, being more reflective, journaling, taking a vacation, going on an international trip, and the list goes on and on. But now let's think, what motivation does it take to actually achieve those goals? For bodybuilding, some might say you need to go 5 times a week, doing full body workouts or focusing on one muscle group, 5 sets of 5, 3 sets of 12. For cooking, you have to understand every ingredient. There's techniques like knife skills, pan skills, induction, electric, gas. Even something like journaling. It seems so simple, just pen and paper, but when you think about it, it's a bit more of a commitment than you think. You might need to write a whole chapter, pages worth of things that went on in your life. Maybe you just got back from work and journaling isn't something that you want to do when you just want to relax and be potato. Basically, everything you want to become or strive to achieve has some motivational challenge that you need to overcome as well. And that's why it's so common to see people making all these new resolutions during New Year's and not following through or giving up after just 2 or 3 months, if that even. So now you might be wondering, what's the trick? How do you actually be motivated all the time? Well, let's break it down. All I have to do is lower the bar. So what does that mean? So if we think about the bodybuilding example one more time, what's the process to get there? You got to do 5 sets of 5 or 3 sets of 12 of bench, deadlift, squat. Doing that every day or every other day is too difficult, and it really weighs heavy on my mind. It makes me not want to do it because it seems like it'll just take too much time and energy. So what I do is I lower the bar until it's easy enough for me to think, why not? So instead of 5 days a week, maybe it's 3 times a week, maybe it's 2 times a week, maybe it's once a week. It doesn't matter as long as I feel like, hey, you know what? I can do that. But it's not just the timing either, it's actually the workouts themselves. 5 sets of 10, 3 sets of 12, that's a lot of reps. So I trick my mind and say, you know what, all right, 3 sets of 12 or 5 sets of 10, whatever you want, is like the overachiever 110% of my energy. So I just tell myself, all right, I'll just go. I will literally do 1 set of 1 rep. And you might be thinking, hey, Kenny, that's like nothing. You're not gonna get anything out of that. And you're right, if I only did 1 set of 1 rep. But what tends to happen is I end up getting to the gym, I get ready to do my 1 set of 1 rep, I do it, and guess what? I do another rep, and another, and another, and another. That wasn't that hard, I could do some more. And so it turns into 2 sets, and then 3 sets. And at that point, I'm just doing the full workout. But in my mind, I've already hit my daily goal of 1 rep, 1 set. And that's the power of lowering the bar. If you just tell yourself and you reward your brain for hitting that super easy goal that you set for the day, it feels really good to go above and beyond that every time you go to the gym. And you can apply the lowering the bar mindset to basically anything you can think of. For cooking, I used to want to walk into the kitchen and make a restaurant class meals right from the get-go. Beef Wellingtons, ramen from scratch, a new cuisine every night. I would look up complex recipes online, go to the store, get these really exotic ingredients, and create something that tasted delicious. But at the end of the day, I didn't really know how to use those ingredients properly because I was just following directions. And so a lot of those ingredients would go to waste in the fridge because I wasn't sure what else to make with it besides that one dish, and I wasn't gonna eat that every single day. And having to think about what to make every single day is really taxing because that's basically work if you don't know what you want. And so I stopped cooking because it was too stressful to figure out what I wanted to make every single day. And that was the high bar. So how do we lower it to make it easier on ourselves? Instead of making complex dishes, just make something simple that I would still eat. Chicken and rice, maybe scrambled eggs. And even with scrambled eggs, you can learn a lot. How to utilize low heat versus high heat, different ways to crack an egg, different ways to season it instead of just salt and pepper. Maybe experiment with oregano, chives, cilantro, onions, lime juice, lemon juice, paprika. And not all at once, just one at a time, so you really understand what it's doing to affect the flavor of the egg. And so whenever you try and make a more complex dish, like fish or chicken or whatever, you can taste the food and maybe think, hey, I tasted a seasoning before on these eggs that I feel like would go really well with this new dish. And that's what you want, because now you're making these new connections, you understand how to use the ingredients, and then you won't be left over with all that extra food in the fridge because you know what everything tastes like and you can create new dishes freestyle without relying on recipes. And for journaling, the high bar would be coming home back from work and writing pages and pages for over an hour at a time. But sometimes you come back home from work and you just want to be a potato. And on those days, if you set the goal to be writing pages and pages, you're not going to do it because it's too much effort. So instead of doing it every day, you do it like every week or every 2 weeks, maybe once a month, because the bar is just too high. So let's lower it. Instead of writing pages and pages, just write 1 page. If that's too much, 1 paragraph. If that's still too much, 1 sentence. And if that's still too much, just write 1 single word. And that 1 single word will be what describes your day. Instead of taking hours, it takes minutes, maybe even seconds. And that might not seem like a big deal, but it's really important because now you're journaling every single day. You're getting into a routine, you're building a habit, and that is the key. You want to make the bar so low, so easy that you just cannot create any excuse to tell yourself that you shouldn't do this today. Because when you're trying to build a habit, doing something is always better than doing nothing. At the end of the day, all that lowering the bar is really doing is making something that you may not have wanted to do so easy and so effortless that you really have no excuse not to do it. And so if lowering the bar has made it such that you end up doing something that you may not have wanted to do every single day, then you're winning because you're building a good habit. Now, some of you might be thinking, isn't lowering the bar just tricking yourself into thinking that you're doing more than you actually are? And you might be thinking because of that, hey, there's no way that would actually motivate me. But let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where you tell yourself, hey, you know what? I'll go to sleep after just 1 more episode or 1 more game. I'll only eat 1 cookie or 1 piece of candy. Or your friends are like, hey, we'll only go out for 1 drink. The situation might seem different because this is stuff that you want to do, but at its core, it's the same thing, right? You're lowering the bar to make it seem like you're not going to overindulge, whether or not you actually want to do that activity. And for me, lowering the bar has been working quite well for doing things that I don't want to do. But that kind of got me thinking, why didn't I want to do those things in the first place? I think it's because I don't want to fail and I don't want to feel like I'm underachieving. And lowering the bar is a great method to not feel that, especially for perfectionists. Because obsessing over perfection, contrary to popular belief, is actually pretty bad because it leads to anxiety, procrastination, depression, burnout, because perfectionists don't want to let others down, including themselves. So just fix it, right? Stop obsessing over goals and achievements. But to a perfectionist, that's like telling someone who's short to just grow taller. And that's why I think lowering the bar is such an effective method, especially for perfectionists, because the goals and achievements are still there, but hopefully without the fear of failure.